A man by the name of Kevin Miller is the Banshee killer. He's a serial killer who brings his victims to an abandoned building. He kills them and then leaves a VHS tape on their dead bodies. Footage on each of the VHS tapes of him torturing and then killing his victims. In my version, it's a retelling of the events that happened in the late 90s. There are two interviews in my piece. The first one is a police officer that is a first responder on the scene the day Kevin Miller is caught. And the other person that was interviewed is Kevin Miller's friend. They used to be friends in school. That's a quick synopsis of the plot of my piece. It is loosely based off of an actual serial killer that used to live in Poughkeepsie, New York. When they went through his house, they found over 80 films that he made, archive of footage that he made over a 3-year period where he tortured and killed his victims on tape. I set up my portfolio in such a way that it had separate segments in it, where you could see the big picture of it being a show or a film. There's the intro segment, which is quite self-explanatory. Then you have the interview segment, which could be the core information part of it, the meat of the story, where you get each character's perspectives and you get B-roll footage over the top of that. And the last section, you get the Banshee killer tapes, which is basically him actually killing the people. This would probably be more of a film setting, not as much as a show, because you probably wouldn't be actually showing the real footage in a documentary type setting. But if all three sections of my portfolio were built up upon more, they could be part of a bigger narrative piece. I wanted my piece to look very dark and gritty from the get-go, and I assigned inspiration like 7 for the color scheme I went for in the interview section. I wanted to look very almost greenish. If you notice when you're watching 7, it kind of does have a greenish, yellowish hue to it, which makes it look really dirty and grimy. I couldn't do that for the VHS portions of the tape because it just didn't look right. It didn't look old. It just looked kind of edited footage. I wanted it to look quite realistic. But the interview portion, I'll put on screen right now what the original footage looked like and what I did with the color. The interview portion was very dimly lit. There was only one light source in the room, which is done on purpose. The framing is very balanced, and the space on either side of the character and the computer screen over here is quite even and balanced. The footage I took inside Town Hill was definitely supposed to look very guerrilla style. It was very shaky. It was handheld. It's supposed to look very untrained. I took a lot of B-roll footage at Town Hill, and I did that on purpose. I wanted to get a lot of different kind of shots, so when I was adding it to the interview, I could definitely match up what the person was saying to what shot I wanted in the B-roll. In terms of editing, I really wanted to edit this piece kind of like a documentary you see about serial killers. I watched numerous documentaries about serial killers in preparation for research for this assignment, and I wanted to replicate a lot of those documentaries to a certain extent. I think I matched the style quite well, but I wanted the tone to be quite a lot different. I felt that when I was watching the documentaries about serial killers, they felt quite cold and removed from the situation, and it was kind of just relaying the facts in order, but I wanted mine to be more personal. So that's why I got Kai to play the friend of Kevin Miller, the serial killer, because I think it gave it more of a personal feel. At the end of the interview portion, I have Kevin Miller at the end while Kai is talking. I have his head in his hands at the end, and it slowly zooms in. I think this gives it a lot of emotion, which I don't think you would see in a lot of regular serial killer documentaries. Not exactly to sympathize the serial killer with the audience, but just to really hammer home what Kai was saying, that a serial killer could be anyone you know. You know, it's just a regular person, which I think makes it quite a lot scarier when you know it could be someone that you know. In terms of directing, I only had to work with 2 actors, and both of them were very, very opposite to the way I wanted them to act on screen. Dylan played the police officer in the interview, and I wanted him to be very calm, cool, and collected, as a police officer would be, kind of relaying the facts as he saw them on the day. No real emotion with anything that he was saying. And in stark contrast to that, I wanted Kai to be quite emotional. He's reliving quite dark memories. It would be if your friend, you didn't know he was committing all these crimes all this time, and he might find some guilt in that because he didn't know what was going on. He thought he could help Kevin maybe, or he think he could help the girls that got killed. I wanted to improv a little bit to make sure it was in his own words, not just reading what I wrote. I think he did it quite well. If I was to do this project again, I think I would have added more torture scenes to the piece. I was planning on doing that at Town Hill with the actors actually prepped with bringing props to the scene. I was planning on doing that, but there was no actors at Town Hill. so I had to do it with found footage, which it worked in the end. I've added overlays and whatnot to make it look old and kind of fit the rest of my piece, but I think I would have used more set design elements. I think I would have created a more intricate scene, just to practice, I think, more than anything else. But I think what I've done overall, I think, makes sense, and I think it could go in a good direction if it was made into something larger, either a show or a film. So I think I've added a lot of different elements to my portfolio that I didn't have before.